Hi, Meetu. How are you?
Hi, Arushi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Today is such an exciting day because not only is it a Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that we have a lot of festivals going around at this time. We have, yeah.
What
So,
festivals are going around right now?
we have a pagan festival. It's called the Beltane. It's about
Oh,
fire and renewal and purification and stuff like that. This is like a whole week, if I'm not wrong.
mm-hmm.
So we light up a fire and it's supposed to purify you and stuff like that. Other than that, there's also an Orthodox Christian thing today.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to Easter. They have different names in different cultures in different countries, but it's very much similar to Easter. So you like take a basket of offerings and you go to church and yeah,
Interesting.
stuff like that.
So it almost seems like a renewal of seasons, renewal
Yeah,
of, you know, people, renewal of minds,
absolutely.
renewal of relationships in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since Mercury is no more in retrograde, there's a very common meme going on. Everything from now on is your own fault.
We
um,
just, we just need reasons to blame others or things for everything we do.
Speaking of blame game, today we're going to be talking about communication.
Yeah.
This is not my fault. You're the one who didn't talk to me and stuff like that. So let's see. We have the first query for today. So before we start the queries, I would like to say a few things. These queries have been taken from very personal experiences of people and they would like it to be anonymous. Some of my friends were recently asking me, why do you keep it anonymous? Like let's just name people and this. And that. I was like, no, some people are not comfortable disclosing their identity, and that's okay as long as it helps them or it brings something to light which
Yeah.
they may be aware of already.
And
So,
also, whatever problem one person is facing, chances are a lot of other people are facing that problem too. So, it's also a way of making you or telling you that you're not alone.
yeah,
Whatever you're going through, you're not alone. There
yeah,
are people who are going through similar things. There
yeah,
are people who have gone through similar things and found solutions to it, and you can do it too.
yeah. And for that, we don't need to know who's said what.
Absolutely not. I mean, let
Yeah,
it be anonymous.
yeah,
I think it's better that way.
absolutely. I agree with you. So the first query is somebody told me this that their partner. So this person said my partner should know everything about me. It takes
Yeah.
so much energy to communicate every little thing. Uh, why is it important to communicate everything after living together for years? Why is it not possible for someone to just kind of know what you want without having to spell out each and everything? What do you have to say about that?
So, okay, we want to talk about this in terms of new and old relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. But mostly it's like um, we are giving the responsibility and the burden of knowing everything
Yeah.
about us on the other person or to the
Yeah.
other person.
Yeah.
And we're saying, you have to know everything about me,
Yeah.
whether you know me today or you know me for years, but you have to know everything about me, irrespective of I know about myself or not.
Yeah.
Now, look at it from this lens. It sounds a bit harsh for the other person. It's
Yeah.
like, if two people are in a relationship, one person has to know everything about the other person, and the
Yeah.
other person has to know everything about the other person. Um, what happens in such a case is, no matter what happens, you cannot know everything about the other person,
Yeah.
about somebody that you've been living with, about somebody that you've been in a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
You may know plenty of things about them,
Yeah.
but we also want to understand human beings are multidimensional beings. We are different in different situations with different people
Yeah.
in different times of our days and lives.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, expecting the other person to just know that this is what you will like. or this is what you will want. It's saying, I don't want to take the responsibility of communication. I'm going to give you the responsibility of knowing me.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that happens with this is people say, I have told, like, this is a very common conversation between people, two people who are in a relationship.
Yeah.
I have told you a number of times, this is what I don't like. Why do you want to keep doing this? Or why do you keep bringing me this?
Interesting.
And even people who are new in a relationship or old, they keep facing similar things. I have told you I don't like this. Why don't you understand?
Yeah.
Um, Coming to communication, it does not matter what you're communicating.
Yeah.
What matters is how you're
How are
communicating.
you communicating? Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
in law of attraction, we say whatever you tell the universe is always listening.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, I don't want this, the universe is always listening for the noun, not the verb. The verb is I don't want, the noun is this.
Mm-hmm.
So, human brains are just like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, I don't want this, the brain registers this. It does not usually register, I don't want.
Mm.
So, if you want to communicate something to someone, you have to tell them what is it that you want. You have to tell them in positives. You have to tell them as if it's in the present tense, just like you do affirmations.
But don't you think, Meetu, just telling someone every time, like, okay, I agree that at first you don't know each other. So you're just
Yeah.
kind of introducing yourself, let's say in the honeymoon phase, right? So we're more like, hey, listen, I like this, and this is what I do, and blah, blah, blah. And then after a few months pass, and you just expect the other person because they might be listening that, oh
Yeah.
my God, how,
Yeah.
how come this person doesn't remember what I told them, let's say 6 months ago about my certain habits, or let's say it could be as simple as me liking tea and not coffee. So don't you think it gets tedious if you have to repeat it, like, let's say 6 times or 8 times or 10 times? It's just so tedious. It's like training a puppy. And why would you want to do that?
Well, relationships are like that.
Really?
So, we have to understand not every person's priorities are the same.
Hmm.
Okay, in terms of
Yeah.
life. Okay, so for example, just for an example, if one partner's if one partner has no priority over drinking either tea or coffee,
Hmm.
they're less likely to register what's the priority of the other person in terms of tea and coffee.
Oh,
So, what's important for you, you will pay attention to it for everybody around you.
yeah, true.
And what is not important for you personally,
Yeah.
chances are, and I'm saying chances are, you will pay less attention to those things that are communicated about others.
It's clicking somewhere.
Now, the thing is, you can take this
Yeah.
either very personally and say, because you don't remember this, you don't love me.
Yeah.
Or you could look at it as in terms of human experience. You can convey it in a way that's more relatable and understandable. And you can say, I understand this is probably not important for you, but it is very important for me. Can we do this next time?
You need a lot of patience. This is something that I'm learning right now. You need a lot of patience.
But relationships are about patience. It's about living with another person and they have their whole world about them and you have your whole world about it. It's about merging of two worlds.
Hmm.
If you merge too quickly, a collision might happen. So
Yeah.
a lot of patience is needed for you to explore the world of the person. What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? And what's important for me, I'll pay more attention to that. What's not important for me, I will probably pay less attention to that. And it's a very subconscious thing. It's not happening consciously.
Hmm. Sidebar.
Yeah, sidebars. I like sidebars.
So is it just continuing from what we're talking about right now, is it possible that your partner may remember your food preferences over what you like in bed.
Yes, it is possible.
But doesn't that that sounds bizarre to me? Like I think both are equally important, you know?
Maybe for you.
I mean, come on. Is it
Yeah, maybe.
possible that sex is not important for a few people?
Yes, it is.
And yet they match with somebody who has a high sex drive.
Yes, it is. Because, okay, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to talk about value systems here, or
Mm.
let values are something that's important to us. I'm not talking about traditional values or something. I'm talking about values that's important to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, for example, for one person, a value is that I spend money very carefully and I live minimally,
Yeah.
and that's who they are.
Yeah.
For another person, value is I value looking rich and expensive.
Okay.
Being thrifty is not of value to me, but buying the best for myself is of value.
Even if you're starving.
Even
End
if
of the
it's
day.
starving.
Yeah.
I'll eat the best. I'll dress the best.
Hmm.
On the face of it, these two values are very different.
Yeah.
But these two people can also match with each other because somewhere what matters is the value of money is important.
Hmm.
I value money, I value looking expensive.
True.
Now, this is where the clash will happen also for them. Because
And
one
that is,
partner will be
yeah.
like, you're very miserly, the other partner will be like, you're very spendthrift.
And that's when the drama begins.
That's where the drama begins. So, similarly, values for two people can be very different. For one person, now we have a hierarchy of values also.
Yeah.
For one person, valuing the heart over looks
Hmm. Yeah.
may be true. For another, they may value looks over heart.
Yeah.
They'll be like, I don't care what that person is like. I just care that they look good.
You know, everybody, like not everybody, but I've heard this from a lot of people, speaking of this value systems and heart over looks and stuff like that. People say that looks don't matter, but that is not true.
Yeah.
You would at least want something in that person to attract you or to hook you up. So
So
I
that,
don't know. Sorry?
yeah. So I'm answering that question. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you short here. The
It's okay.
answer to that question is in the value hierarchy,
Yeah.
the looks are, so let's say, at the third or fourth place.
Yeah.
They are not out of the list. They are at a fourth or third place.
Yeah.
So if there are two other things that the person has and that this person values more, they will probably not look at looks.
Mhm.
But if that person does not have these two things, then the first thing they'll look at is looks.
Yeah. That is true.
Now, in order to understand this, we have to start understanding what is our value system. What do we value in life? What is important for me in a person or in a relationship or in life?
Yeah.
And that's something we all have to find out. What is important for me? And what is important for me in life and in people?
Mm.
And once we have that, we can start to build better relationships. Now, when we understand our value systems,
Yeah.
we'll also appreciate the value system of another person.
Hmm. Interesting.
You will start to understand, okay, if this is important for me, then that is important for this other person.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if I want this to be respected by this person, I should also be respecting that thing which they value as important.
Hmm.
So, I always say relationship is a two-way street. It's it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
If you're expecting something from your partner, pay attention to where you are in terms of that.
True.
So, expecting the other person to know everything about you and do everything that you expect is setting yourself and your relationship up for failure.
Hmm. Interesting.
And it doesn't take much to actually communicate.
The
No.
question that I'd like to ask here is,
Yeah.
what's the reason they get frustrated?
Because for them, a value system is, or
Hmm.
a definition of love is, if you know everything about me, that means you love me. Otherwise, you don't.
And what kind of love language would you say to this? As fucked up as that sounds.
I don't know. Maybe knowing me, information, paying attention.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've had a client who said, and just extending this question a bit, I have to tell my husband everything that I like.
Yeah.
Even then, he forgets. And so I asked her, what's the reason you don't tell him what you need in that moment? And her answer was, and I'm sure a lot of people will resonate with it. Her answer was, if I have to tell him to get this, then it doesn't feel as good.
Hmm.
Now, that's the definition of a love language. That's how you understand love.
Yeah.
And somewhere you will have to somewhere be more considerate of the other person also, that probably that's not how they understand love.
Yeah.
How you understand love is being taken care of, how they understand love is, or how they express love is taking care of their partners financially.
Hmm. A lot of people have that, I think, as
Yeah.
far as I know.
Yeah. So now this is where, both the partners will say, you don't love me.
Um, Speaking of partners and their communication, the next query that we have is, um, this person says, I was ghosted out by my partner twice. Every time he stops talking to me, he says it's his way to deal with things. I wonder what is this about anyway? Not talking, I mean. It just feels like he's pushing me away. How am I supposed to be okay with my partner not talking to me for months and then suddenly appearing as if everything is okay? This does resonate with me a little bit, but I wouldn't say that it's completely the case that happened with me. So, what do you have to say about this?
Okay, so one of the things that they're talking about is an avoidant attachment,
Mm-hmm.
where the partner needs avoids the other partner person to breathe, to process things, and then they come back and communication resumes.
Yeah,
Now, but the thing is, if your partner comes back after months,
yeah,
it's probably time to have a good conversation with your partner, as in, what's the reason you ghosted me for months?
yeah.
Also, you have to understand, in the name of anxious and avoidant attachments, we are justifying a lot of toxic relationships.
How so?
Okay, so anxious attachment is where the anxious partner needs to latch on to the other person because
Yeah,
they're very anxious, and
yeah,
they need to know everything, they need to be everywhere, they need to be informed every time. That's a very toxic thing because it doesn't let the other person breathe.
yeah. Constant reassurance.
Yeah. As a result, the other person is an avoidant attachment generally, where they're like, I need space.
Yeah,
Okay. And the moment they have a trigger, they move away to
mhm,
process the trigger.
yeah,
The anxious partner becomes extremely anxious and they keep saying, what happened? Let me make it better. Let me make it better. Whereas what the other person needs is just space.
yeah,
Now, what this person, the anxious person, is indulging in is a toxic behavior of not being able to regulate their own emotions.
yeah.
So they're depending on the other person to make themselves feel better.
True.
In their head, if my partner feels better, then I feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's a very toxic trait, and it can lead to a lot of relationships becoming messy and difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to the avoidant attachments, and I'm talking in a very, very broad and very general sense, I'm not going to the nitty gritties of it. An
Yeah,
avoidant attachment person is somebody who's learned to be hyper independent. If I have a problem, I need to sort it out in my own space. I need my own time to sort it out. I'll sort it out in my head and I'll not speak to anybody about it.
yeah.
But that does not mean that they're not communicating with the partner about anything else.
Yeah.
They have a problem, they need space. Fine. Let the other person know. Be kind to them too. That, I need some space. I'll get back to you soon.
Yeah.
Now, that's when you have healed your avoidant attachment. You still have
Yeah.
remnants of it. You're still indulging. You still need space, and that's perfectly okay. But you're letting
Yeah.
the other person know, you know what? I need space. Let me sort this out. And I
Yeah.
can then come back and talk about it. Let me sort it out in my head. I don't want to talk to you when I am triggered.
Yeah.
Whereas the anxious attachment person needs to talk to feel calm, needs
Yeah.
the other person to feel calm.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody has ghosted you for months, please be kind to yourself, grieve that relationship, and move on.
It's easier said than done, but yeah, that's a
It's easier
ultimate
said than done, but if you don't do it, chances are them ghosting you this time was not the last time.
true.
And it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
So please be kind to yourself, do a favor to yourself, and choose to respect your time and your love and your feelings.
Yeah.
And definitely, you will have to grieve the loss of that relationship.
That's
Yes.
just
Because
yeah.
when somebody ghosts you, there's a lot of things that come into the mix. There's betrayal, there's confusion, there's a sense of feeling not enough. There was something wrong with me, or, there's such a mix of things, and you've got to
Lack of
deal with it.
closure. Yeah.
Another thing is, you don't want to keep dealing with it over and over again.
Yeah.
So be kind to yourself and, grieve. That's why I said grieve the relationship and move on.
Yeah.
And if it's happened for the first time and the person has come back, please sit down, have a conversation with them.
With your sleeves rolled up and
No, actually, from a place of peace rather than from a place of anger, because, that's the thing a lot of people mess up in with relationships. So, like, I need to sort this out today. It's like, hello, deal with yourself first.
yeah.
Deal with your anger. It doesn't take more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes to deal with your stuff, your anger, your sadness. And if you need more time, let your partner know, I need more time to deal with
Yeah.
it on your own.
Yeah.
And that's where the communication comes in.
Yeah.
Let your partner know what's happening.
Yeah.
Striking some chords, am I?
I'm processing a lot of things in the background. Um, Speaking of which, somebody else is also processing a few things. So this person says, every time I try to communicate about things like what I want and that I'm unhappy with certain things in the relationship, the way they are, there's always a fight. It seems like all they want to do is fight. Then obviously I get pissed too, like which is natural, and we both end up just fighting. I'm starting to give up. What's even the meaning of communicating if they don't listen? Shall I leave my partner? A very strong question in the end.
That's a very loaded one. Okay. Um, if the communication is happening in a way that the other person is constantly getting triggered about something,
Yeah,
one thing you need to understand is that the whatever you are trying to address
yeah,
is something that makes the other person extremely uncomfortable. I'm
true.
not justifying their behavior. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just trying to bring in more consciousness here. Okay. It
Yeah.
means that topic makes the other person uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say uncomfortable, it means it brings up stuff for them which directly probably questions their identity. Questions like, am I not good enough? If you're saying this, does that mean I'm not a good person? I'm not a good
Yeah.
wife, I'm not a good husband, I'm not a good daughter, I'm not a good parent, or I'm not a good human being, or I'm not a good boss, I'm not a good employee, I'm
Hmm.
not a good student, I'm not a good teacher. Could bring up a lot of those things which are deeply triggering for that person.
Yeah.
Okay. So, now that's one thing. That's one understanding that you need to have when you're trying to address something that makes things very uncomfortable for the other person. Now,
Yeah.
a good way to communicate that is one, you have to first understand what about that behavior is triggering you personally. And you've
Yeah.
got to heal your trigger first.
Yeah.
This is a thumb rule. If you're trying to have a communication and there is just so much resistance and conflict coming up, you back off and deal with your own stuff first.
True.
What about this is triggering me?
Yeah.
What about this conflict is triggering me? What about this topic is uncomfortable or triggering me or difficult for me? You work on that stuff
Yeah.
because chances are when you have healed through it, you will be able to communicate in a more I don't want to call it non-violent way, but in a more you will be able to communicate it from a place of peace rather than from a place of an emotion.
Yeah.
What happens if you haven't healed yourself, if you haven't worked through your emotions first, is
Yeah.
when you come to talk to somebody, you're not just talking through words, you're talking through your body language also. And words is just 3% of our body language,
True.
of our communication. 97% is non-verbal. And nonverbal is not just your body language, it's
Yeah.
also your energy that interacts.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you're holding on a lot of resentful energy because of what this person did. You're coming to address this with them.
Yeah.
Before you can speak, your resentful energy interacts with their energy. Their defense walls go up because it's threatening for them. Before you've even uttered a word, the communication has collapsed.
Yeah. True.
So that is something that might be happening here in this case. Also, if you find no matter what you've done, let's say you've done all your inner work, dealt with your emotions, you've cleared that, and you still can't find a way to communicate with the other person, then I think it's time to reach out to a third person who can help you communicate better.
True.
And that is likely to be a therapist, a counselor,
Yeah.
somebody who's a neutral third party.
Yeah.
Now, this is important, a neutral third party for both the people,
Yeah. True.
not a family member who's biased towards one of them.
Yeah. True.
So, that could be another thing. And, yeah, I mean, these are some of the easiest and the most doable things to do when communication doesn't happen effectively.
When you're saying about body language, it just reminds me of this certain time when I was talking to an authority figure and I was like really scared, or like something was going on in my head anyway, and I was like scared to talk to them, you know?
Yeah.
And what happened was, now it's just coming to me right now when you mentioned all this. What happened was, now I'm since I'm back in the memory, I was approaching them for certain thing, and before I even opened my mouth to say anything, I saw them looking at me with utter, like, they were just angry. Okay.
Hmm.
So that just pulled me back. Like, I don't know even I should even like talk, or like should I just turn around and go? Because they rolled their eyes. The body language was such. They rolled their eyes and they just gave like a long sigh, and they just like, relaxed back in the couch like they don't want to talk. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, she's here again types. So yeah, I think body language and the way you respond to the other person just in their presence before you can even communicate verbally matters
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
And just a sidebar from what you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you said, the way they rolled their eyes, the way they looked at me, they were angry. In some cases, I'm not saying in every case, in some cases, that could be an assumption too.
True.
The way they rolled their eyes made me believe or assume that they are angry.
Yeah.
And because sometime in the past, when I was a child, the teacher or the parent looked at me like that, and
I
then I
learned.
realized that they are angry. And so this look triggered that emotion.
Yeah, true.
So sometimes how the person looks at you can also be something that you want to work on and clear that, because that could also be a trigger.
True.
Because I remember this is it's actually funny. I was walking through the mall and I saw a teacher. I saw not a teacher. I saw a person coming from the front, and this was a lady. She was wearing a very nice crisp sari, a
Yeah,
very crisp cotton sari. And as kids we saw our teachers in those kinds of saris, and one of the memories is this teacher. We were taught you have to be very proper in front of teachers, as in a
yeah,
convent school in the primary. And so that conditioning still holds. And
yeah.
I unconsciously straightened myself up when I saw the teacher, and I was like, and a moment later I realized, what am I doing?
Your body is responding to a crisp cotton
Yeah,
sari.
the body just responded to that crisp cotton sari archetype of teacher.
Yeah,
And
true.
I don't know if she was a teacher, she was just a stranger in the mall. And that's how assumptions happen all the time. The body responds to it before we can even realize it.
True, true.
So if that response is something that's not desirable for you, then you know that's something you want to work on and clear.
Thanks for that gentle reminder. Um, so, speaking of interests and how they affect us in a lot of ways, this next query, this person says, I feel like my partner has no interest in me. They talk with their friends more. I have seen it. They don't talk about things like that with me. Is it
Mm.
because we're different people? Is it because I'm a woman? I don't know, but I keep thinking about it and it is wrecking my head. I try not to think about it, but it bothers me. So I tried to communicate that, but they said they would try talking to me more from now on. It didn't happen. So this person, they are looking forward to sort of like a resolution, I must add, that what is the real reason why this person is more interested in talking to their friends rather than their own partner?
Um, so, you know, we are, let me generalize it first.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, we are different people when interacting with different people. We are a different person when we interact with different people. And
yeah,
that's the truth of it.
yeah.
We cannot do anything about it. Okay, we cannot be one same person talking to different people.
Hmm.
So, for example, you meet a childhood friend. You're a very different person when you're talking to a childhood friend. And then you meet, let's say, somebody who used to be a teacher. You will be a different person. You'll have a different kind of conversation with them.
Yeah,
Your parents, you'll have a different kind of conversation. With your kids, you'll have a different kind of conversation. Even among friends, your friends from work and your friends from school or college, you'll have different kinds of conversations with them.
true.
Now, if you're expecting, that one person, your partner, to have the same kind of conversation that they are having with their work friends or with their school friends with you, then probably there's something wrong with your expectation. What you're
Yeah,
seeking is more communication from them, and your partner is unable to communicate to you in a way that they communicate with their friends.
yeah,
Okay. Now the other thing is, if your partner is unable to communicate to you at all, not like their friends, like they do with their friends, but at all,
yeah,
something seriously going on between the two of you where there's no free flow of communication.
yeah,
And also, two people cannot have the same mental level.
true.
You may like some different things, your partner may like some different things, and they may have absolutely no interest in the things that you like. And in that case, the conversations will be very minimal.
True.
It is it is a fact that one has to accept,
Yeah,
and then find common ground on which you can talk about things.
true.
And that's what keeps a relationship alive.
Yeah,
Let's say one partner likes books, the other partner has no interest in books. They're just interested in, let's say, technology or cars and bikes.
Yeah.
Absolutely no interest.
Yeah.
So now they can't talk about books. You are not interested in bikes or
Yeah.
technology. What are you going to talk about? Nothing.
Swimming.
So you'll have to find things that are a common ground for you and talk about those things, and that will
Yeah.
require some work, that will require some effort. You'll have to do some activities together to find out what is that one thing or couple of things that both of you enjoy together. And then have a conversation about it. Instead of feeling left out in your conversations with your husband or your partner, you find out what can I talk to them about? What is it that they would enjoy and I would enjoy simultaneously? And
Yeah.
that's how conversations can flow. Expecting one person to have a similar conversation with you that they have with somebody else um is just bringing more pain to yourself.
True. That is true. Well, I hope this helps this person. Moving on to the next query. I feel like my partner is scared of confronting, and almost everything feels like they have to confront the other person. So every time I approach them, they run away, as if I'm only there to put them in a spotlight.
Hmm.
How do I talk to someone like that?
It's a very specific thing. I'm wondering what is it that they want to confront the other person about always. Okay.
I believe that I heard these words from this person that they had to discuss certain important things that needed discussion.
Hmm.
That's what they said.
Okay. Um, so if the other person avoids discussing important things,
Yeah,
um, you have to find out, or you have to at least become aware of what's the reason they are uncomfortable with discussing those important things. And you have to first discuss that.
yeah,
Because forcing the other person to discuss things that they're uncomfortable with is not going to be fruitful at all.
true.
Maybe the other person is afraid of discussing money matters. Maybe they're afraid of discussing things that require more responsibility. Maybe they have something else going on for them.
Yeah,
So instead of saying it feels like a confrontation, first get behind the confrontation. What is really going on there?
yeah,
What's the reason they feel it's a confrontation?
yeah.
You know, it's a question we don't ask often and we don't ask enough. What's the reason this person is behaving that way?
There's something that you pointed out to me a few years ago, I think, regarding confrontation, I suppose, because I used to have issues as well. What if everything is not a confrontation? What if it's just a discussion, Like telling somebody that this is where I am and this is how I see things and this is my perspective. So what about you? Like just having a casual discussion, not having like almost always having like a um like this. So because I think that confrontation is often used in the sense that this is like a conclusion of some sort, like this is the final game, show's
Mhm.
over, curtains are up, the jig is up, and beyond this there is no road. Whereas
Yeah,
when you say that you're having a discussion, it's like a smooth mellowy thing. You can
yeah.
choose to have different paths after this discussion, of course, but I think this is one of the reasons why confrontation as a term gets a very negative connotation. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah, because and in fact it was true for me also. I used to think discussions are confrontations.
Really?
Yeah. It took me some inner work to understand that not every discussion is a confrontation. It's just presentation of your own opinions.
Mm,
And it's not necessary everybody has to have the same opinion.
true.
So yeah, definitely sometimes we have to just understand that this is how the other person talks about things, and it
Yeah.
can feel confrontational, and that is where your self dialogue comes, or your contemplation
Yeah.
comes into play. what's the reason it feels confrontational? Is it really confrontational, or is it what I am feeling because of certain things?
Certain things, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we've extended our time a little bit today, but we're just taking last, I know, additional query
Yeah.
more than what we do usually, but this is another query, and this is from a I'd say in a relationship when there are two parties, like two to tango. I have gathered the opinion of both of them from a perspective that they're both looking for a resolution of some sort. So
Mm-hmm.
I know them both personally. At the same time, they're presenting their own individual perspectives or individual feelings and thoughts about this particular situation.
Okay.
So the partner A says, I want to commit to this person. We're talking about partner B. I want to
Mm-hmm.
commit to this person I've been seeing for a while, but I'm scared they don't want it and would reject me. How do I talk about this?
Okay.
And the partner B says, I like this person's company. I like spending time with them, but I need more time. I'm not ready for a serious relationship yet. I'm scared to tell them this because every time this topic comes up, they start getting agitated and anxious, and it just becomes very difficult to talk about it.
Um, hmm. So, I think it's more about becoming becoming okay with the response you get for your question. Okay. Now, you are afraid of asking your partner whether they want to commit or not because basically you're afraid they'll say no.
Yeah,
And the partner is not saying either a yes or a no because they need more time to be sure. Maybe they need more time to process things. Maybe they have something going on for them. It's just that two people in a relationship are at different places in their life.
yeah,
Um, in such a case, it's better to have a discussion
yeah,
and let things be out in the open that, I'm looking for commitment. The other person can say, I am not ready yet.
yeah,
I need more time for it.
yeah,
Um, it's something that each one has to decide for themselves whether they are okay with it or not.
yeah,
Because if they are not okay with the other person not committing, they can choose to move on or they can choose to stay and give them time,
yeah,
which they're doing anyways. They're staying and giving them time because they're seeking a yes or a no from them.
yeah, yeah,
So might as well put it out in the open and become okay with hearing the response of the other person. Because not everything that happens in life is according to our liking.
yeah.
That's a fact. It's a bitter fact.
True.
So, you know, it's better to spell it out rather than keep it in your hearts and keep brewing with it day and night.
That is actually very true. And even though we have a few more queries, some of those concern like are related to precisely long distance relationships. We don't have enough time to deal with them, so we're going to be doing a separate session on that very soon. This is just to tell all our viewers that don't worry, your queries will be taken up in the next few sessions or so. So with this, we come to the end of our current episode about communication in relationships. Thank you so much, Meetu, for answering all these queries and bringing a lot of stuff up for so many people. I hope everybody sleeps properly tonight. um, for our
Just
next
just
episode, yeah,
just giving food for thought. And I think I'm gonna say this again, Arushi. What is the other person going through? It's not a question we ask enough. And we need to start asking that more often.
yeah,
We have to step out of our head to understand where the other person is. And that's what relationships are all about.
true.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of stuff has come up, and this kind of connects to our next topic for the next week. We have conflicts and breakups, and
Yeah.
because a few people have pointed out that they have the intention of leaving their partner because they're frustrated and this and that. Um, it kind of borders on breakups and conflicts as well. So we'll be taking a few of these queries, the remaining queries, in the next episode for that reason. And I think it's going to be a, a hell of an episode, may I add, because I already know the queries. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And if you have more queries, please send them across to us. You can send it on DMs or you could send them in the comment section and we'll definitely look at them. And hope you're enjoying our series and because we've had such conversations for so long and they've always been eye-opening for
yeah,
both of us.
yeah.
And I hope they're eye-opening for you as well. And they give you some food for thought. They give you, one thing that you take away from this, where is the other person coming from? What are they going through? What could be happening for them? I think that's such an important question. Please start asking that more often in your life, not just in your relationships, but in every relationship that you go through in life. It does
Absolutely
not mean to justify what they're doing, but it gives you more, let's just say, compassion and peace in where you are.
true. And also, just to keep in mind something that you pointed out to me a few years ago at the very beginning of my journey, communication is the responsibility of the sender. So
Yes.
the way you put it matters more than the way
Yeah.
you receive it. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
with this, we come to the end of our current episode. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, Meetu, for answering all the queries
Thank
honestly, truthfully, and with a lot of love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Okay.
We will see you next week. Bye bye.